Monique just reignited a fierce online debate. And honestly, I can understand why people are so invested. This week, the Academy Award winner poured her heart out in a lengthy, emotionally charged open letter to Whoopi Goldberg, posting it for the world to see on Instagram. This isn't the first time Monique has spoken her mind without filter. She's always been that way, and it's one of the qualities that make her so compelling. She's not afraid to address uncomfortable truths, even when it means risking backlash or stirring up controversy. To really understand why this letter has struck such a chord, you have to rewind to 2018. That year, Monique appeared on The View to talk about something that had been simmering beneath the surface for almost a decade: the career fallout she experienced after her powerful performance in the film Precious. Most people would assume that winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, especially with a performance as raw and transformative as hers, would be the launchpad to even bigger roles and opportunities. But for Monique, the opposite happened. Instead of her career skyrocketing, it seemed like doors started slamming shut. Here's the backstory. For Precious, Monique's agreement was with the film's director, Lee Daniels. She fulfilled every obligation in her contract, doing exactly what was required. But soon after, she started receiving calls from Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah, and Lionsgate executives. They wanted her to go above and beyond, traveling overseas and doing additional press to promote the film. But there was a catch. They wanted all this extra work done for free, no additional compensation, just more of her time and energy. Monique declined, making it clear that her priority was her family and that she wasn't willing to do unpaid labor, no matter how high-profile the request. That's when, according to Monique, the industry's attitude toward her shifted dramatically. Suddenly, she was being labeled difficult, a loaded term, especially for women, and even more so for Black women in Hollywood. She claims that refusing to play by these unwritten rules led to her being quietly blacklisted, her career momentum grinding to a halt. The label stuck, and the damage was done. When Monique shared this experience on The View, she was hoping perhaps for some empathy or at least open-mindedness. Instead, Whoopi Goldberg, a trailblazer in her own right, responded in a way that surprised many viewers. With arms crossed, Whoopi told Monique that, in the film industry, everyone is expected to promote their projects, regardless of what their contract specifies. And then, in a moment that has since become infamous, Whoopi said, "If you had called me, I could have schooled you on what was expected." The implication was clear. Monique was naive, and Whoopi, as a seasoned veteran, knew better. It was a public admonishment, delivered on a show known for supporting women's voices. This isn't about who was technically correct, whether Monique should have promoted the film for free, or whether she had the right to stand her ground. At its core, Monique's argument is about fairness and respect. Her stance has always been that if she had violated her contract, the studios could have pursued legal action. They never did, because she fulfilled her obligations. She did her job, no more and no less, and she refused to let herself be bullied into doing more for free. Fast forward to March 2026, and the conversation has shifted. An old clip of that View exchange resurfaced online, but the public response was different this time. Instead of echoing Whoopi's perspective, many people found themselves siding with Monique. They recognized the validity of her position. Why should anyone, especially a Black woman in an industry rife with exploitation, be expected to give away their labor for free, simply because it's what others have always done? That change in public sentiment clearly meant a lot to Monique. It's a sign that the culture is starting to question the old rules, and that people are more willing to listen to stories of injustice and exploitation within the entertainment industry. Moved by this shift, Monique wrote her open letter. She didn't pull any punches. She asked Whoopi directly, "Are you committed to fighting injustice? Or do you only stand up when it's convenient or when it benefits certain people?" In her letter, Monique drew a fascinating parallel. She referenced a legal battle Whoopi faced back in 1993 over the film Theodore Rex. Whoopi was sued because she allegedly made a verbal commitment to appear in the movie, but ultimately her defense was that she never officially agreed. The situation closely mirrors Monique's own predicament with Precious. both women accused of not living up to expectations that went beyond their actual agreements. It's easy to see why Monique would find Whoopi's earlier experience particularly relevant and perhaps even hypocritical. Monique also called out Tyler Perry, claiming that he admitted to her in private that she was right, but has never gone public to clear her name or challenge the difficult label that still hangs over her. That silence, she suggested, is part of the problem. But the part of her letter that really stands out is when she describes the pain of being reprimanded not by an industry executive or a faceless critic, but by another Black woman on a platform that claims to uplift and empower women. That sense of betrayal is something many women, especially those from marginalized backgrounds, can relate to. There's a unique sting when you expect solidarity from someone who shares your struggles, only to be met with judgment or dismissal. That moment of being called out or shamed when you were hoping for support is painfully familiar to so many. Maybe it doesn't happen on national television, but it happens in meetings, among friends, in group settings where you expect to be understood. That feeling of isolation, of being misunderstood or let down by someone you looked up to, is universal. Monique's words tap into that collective experience, which is why her letter resonates so deeply. She closed her letter with both a challenge and a heartfelt plea. Are you willing to do what's right for the next generation of girls who are watching and learning from us? She reminded Whoopi, I was the little girl coming behind you. It's a powerful statement, not just a call for accountability, but a reminder of the responsibility we all have to those who follow in our footsteps. The reaction online has been predictably divided. Some people are firmly in Monique's corner, applauding her for refusing to back down and for continuing to speak her truth, no matter how much time has passed. Others argue that it's time to let the issue rest, suggesting that reopening old wounds on social media isn't productive. Still others think Monique could have reached out to Whoopi privately, rather than making their conflict public once again. All these perspectives have merit. The reality is, pain and anger over injustice don't follow a neat timeline, and the process of holding people and systems accountable can take years, even decades. Some wounds don't heal simply because time has passed, especially when the world keeps reminding you of what happened. Monique's story is a reminder of how long-lasting the effects of being unfairly judged or ostracized can be, and of how important it is to keep pushing for honest conversations, even when they're uncomfortable, even when it seems like everyone else has moved on. Ultimately, Monique's letter isn't just about her and Whoopi, or even about Hollywood. It's about the broader struggle for fairness, respect, and solidarity. It's about refusing to accept the status quo simply because that's how things have always been done. And it's about the courage it takes to keep speaking out, even when your voice shakes and even when you're not sure anyone is listening. That's why this story matters, and why so many people can't look away.